Today, with help along your way podcast, we have Tony from Battlecross. So welcome, Tony.
Thank you very much.
The new album is called Rise to Power. How long did the songwriting process take from the first concept of the first riff or lyrics to the completion of the full CD and ready for sale?
The oldest song, the first song that was written, got to be the song that became Despise, which is, I believe, track 8. And that was born, I'd have to say, early 2014, probably around February or March. And so that was the first song. And then there was a period of time where, since we were touring and doing other things, that we didn't really write a whole lot. And it wasn't until after we had some time later in the year, late 2014, that we came back together and continued writing. And then we went to the studio, and it was either January or February, and then we finished recording by March. And the mixing and mastering came after that, along with the artwork. And now I actually have the CD in my hand. So, and then it will be in stores on August 21st.
Awesome. So who was the biggest songwriter in the band for this release, or was it just a meshing of everyone's ideas together and it all gelled?
Well, as far as guitar riffs, because the way we like to write the music, as it generally goes with rock or metal, is written either by guitars, sometimes keyboard. But in our case, we start with guitars, and because we don't have a keyboard player. And I do a lot of the writing. Huron does a lot of the writing. Don does some of the writing as far as guitars are concerned. And we'll write a riff or a part or whatever, and that will inspire the song, and then we write around that. So basically that's how it starts. And then drums come in, help get a feel. Sometimes it changes the dynamic of the song or changes a part, and then the song continues to morph or change or evolve after that point. And as a song begins to, grow and become something, and you can start to feel the structure and feel the tone of the song and where it's going, then you start to maybe this intro would work out really well with the song, and then you start adding and piecing things in, like lead parts or solos or harmonies or whatever else that comes in after, usually. And then vocals are like the very last thing that we do. Primarily, Kyle's job as a singer, he writes the majority of the lyrics. I did contribute for one song on this album as far as lyrics, and he ended up using it but then making it his own. And while he was in the studio with producer Jason Sukoff, they collaborated together to come up with some really great phrasing ideas and some cool overlapping stuff with multiple voices and things like that, instead of just one, two voices, like a high and a low or whatever, and just really brought it to life that way. So I have to give Jason Sukoff a lot of credit for helping get the best out of us on this album, and he definitely contributed to that for sure.
I mean, it sounds really good, and I've noticed it has a lot of, to me, I would just consider a lot of groove in each track, so each track can stand alone, but when you put it together, it all sounds complete, so it's a really good work of art, as I would consider it. And, that leads to the next question. So how did y'all keep a groove or rhythm going within each of the tracks without sounding robot-like, or like you were all hooked up to a click track machine? And whether you used them or not, I don't know.
Right.
But it sounded natural. So how did y'all do that?
Awesome. Well, thank you for saying so, because that, to me, that's a compliment, and I appreciate that. I think one of the biggest things from the core is just when we began writing, each song came from someplace else. So it was like, they're its own fresh, new individual idea. It wasn't necessarily a bunch of riffs written in one day and then spread across a bunch of songs. Each song was its own identity, and I think that we helped keep it that way throughout the process. And by the end, when you hear the album from beginning to end, hopefully each song that does have its own identity and sounds different from the next one. So I'm glad that you said that. As far as it not sounding robotic, I think that I would contribute that to Alex, our drummer, just his style. He's very diverse, and he's a well-rounded drummer. He knows a lot of different styles, and I think that helps complement the music, because then it's not, we won't have this part that needs to breathe and it's just being blasted through or something. He can help complement the music, which is very important, obviously, for for the expression to be felt. And I felt like he really nailed that. So I have to give him a lot of credit for that reason, you know what I mean, for it not to sound robotic, because he is a real drummer and he is really playing those parts.
Right.
So I'm glad that translated. Early in the process, when we were putting together like the demos, which were basically it'd be like I would get all the parts together and then record it onto, a program, and then I would program some drums to just kind of give it a feel, and that way when we would listen back, without having to get together, because it was hard to get together being that he lived in, that Alex lives in California, that we would get kind of a sense for the structure and the feel of the song, and then he would listen to that and take it from there and make it his own. So at that time, a lot of the songs were kind of a little more straightforward in the sense, because I don't have the ability to really, I'm not a drummer, you know what I mean? So when it came time for us to all come together and really, hash the songs out and then go into the studio, that's really when I think it came alive.
Yeah, you're talking about, the drumming part. It's like, I think you said, Alex, he is phrasing his parts as well and not just filling them, which is huge, because everything, being a little teeny tiny blog, here in Texas, I mean, you get all kinds of stuff, all kinds of bands. Some of them are good, but other ones, they all just sound alike. And so just hearing something fresh that pops, you're like, oh, finally somebody got the idea, So I appreciate that.
That's awesome. Thank you for saying that.
Now, were there any news stories or books or people that had a direct influence on the subject matter of this new release, or just in general, or is it just, hey, this is how it has come together and we'll make it work?
As far as subject matter being specific, I couldn't tell you exactly, because I really only contributed myself to one song, the song called Spoiled, and the other songs Kyle had written with Jason, some of them before. So I couldn't tell you specifically anything, like I couldn't cite anything specifically, but I do know that the way that Kyle writes is very personal. It means something to him. He's not going to put something out that doesn't mean anything. That's just make believe. You know what I mean? So every word means something to him, and I know that he's being honest when he says it, and I think it may be just up to the listener to interpret it in their own way. Otherwise, it might be a little too specific, and I think we don't all agree on things. So I think that if he were to touch on subjects specifically to the point where we knew exactly what he meant, it could be perhaps controversial or maybe unrelatable. So I think that the way he goes about doing it is important for it to be open for interpretation, which I personally am thankful that he does, because I like that. I mean, some stuff, if you really knew what he was singing about, it could be political or religious or whatever, but we're not that kind of band, and I don't want to be. So I'm just grateful that he is, he understands that and he puts it in his own way, so that way it's not, we're not taking sides on anything. It can be interpreted for your own life, for whatever you're going through. So he likes to look in on himself, point out the things he did wrong, write it down on paper, and say, don't ever do that again. That's kind of one of the things that he really touched on in this one, which I think helps make it a more serious album, a little darker, a little more serious to me. So
kind of a lessons learned recap of what not to do.
Right, and then to come back and rise above, and not to be held down by those things, whether it be a vice or addiction or whatever. So, which goes along with kind of our motto or whatever, rise above, push on, push through those obstacles, whatever it may be. So.
Yep, exactly. So now, we'll talk a little bit about the band. So given all the online fanfare and media sites, how does the band connect with fans so that you actually remember them? And I know it's impossible to do, but, media and outlets, I mean, everything just comes at us so fast. So how do you connect with people so that it means something?
Well, the way, I guess, to me, is kind of the way we've always been doing it, and that is to just be accessible. And I agree with you that there is so much online's presence by everybody that sometimes you see it so much it just goes through the back of your head. It's like you don't even see it. From my perspective, I think it's most important to be present and normal and just, sociable at the shows. And I think that is definitely something that I know people like. I guess something that they can expect to see at our shows is we're not going to hide backstage the whole time. We're not going to try to be something that we're not, which is this thing you can't obtain on this pedestal somewhere that is like whatever. That's not the kind of band we are. For the most part, we like to be watching the other bands or hanging out at merch or talking to people and showing them the appreciation that we have for them just to come to the show. It means a lot to us. So what better way to say thank you than just hanging out and just telling them in person, thank you for coming to the show. Like, hey, how's it going? What's new? And then nowadays there's, familiar faces and new people. So it's like, we kind of have friends all over the place, and it's amazing. It's like that's the reason, one of the biggest reasons why I know Kieran and I started the band is because, we love the metal and everything like that, the music and stuff, but also because the community that comes with it. Usually the people who are into metal, it's just so easy to connect and so easy to hang out and just, be easygoing about it and hang out at the shows, and it's just totally cool. So I think we carry that through in the band at our shows, and that's just part of us. It's part of Battlecross is just, easygoing, chilling. Then we go on stage, we do our best to just own that thing. And that's what the shows are about for us, is the fans, the music, and the show. All the stuff that in between, whatever may happen, what happens at those shows makes it worth it. So that's the way we look at it.
That's good to hear. Whether music fans know it or not, being a touring band musician is a very difficult job. A lot of demands for your time, for your energy, odd sleeping hours, uncertainty of meals and all that fun stuff. So knowing all this and knowing it's a very tough job, but you obviously love it, what's the most challenging aspect of making your music count and sticking around within the music industry?
I think for us specifically, the biggest obstacle is, number one, informing people when we'll be in town, because you wouldn't believe how many times somebody's said, like maybe online or whatever, oh, when are you coming here? When are you coming there? Hey, sorry, we were just there. And we try to do, literally, we try so hard to do, we have online presence, we have special like campaigns that we do where we connect with the promoter and have them do like a list of things that they have to do to like promote the show, or we'll contact the bands that are opening and have them do stuff. So it's like you can only do so much short from having a commercial on television right in their face. You know what I'm saying? It's just like that's the hardest thing, is just getting people to know where we'll be, when we'll be there, and just getting the word out, and then capturing them and then having them come back is like one of the things. Like I'm confident that if you come to a show and you get to talk to us and see the show, you're probably going to come again if you like metal. You know what I mean? Like that's how I feel. Like I'm pretty confident in it now. And like I'm not trying to, toot my own horn or anything like that. I just know that our fans are loyal and we have a connection, and it's just a matter of getting people to know that we're playing. And that's one of the biggest things I have to say. So, and that goes back to what you're saying before about how sometimes even just a social media effort is like out the back of your head. You hear about something, then you forget about it. There's so much going on. So it's kind of like this pool of everything going on that is just a blur, So, and in a way that kind of desensitizes and makes things a little less special too, because you and I know what it was like before when a band came to town. As soon as you knew, you would go wait outside of the record store or wherever, and you would wait for the tickets to be on sale. You know what I mean? And that was one way of going. Or you would show up to the venue early and try to get in. As soon as you knew what was going on, like, you would plan it out. But like nowadays, it's just kind of desensitized. There's so much shit going on that it's like you could forget. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's the way I look. That's my interpretation of it, because it's happened to me. I forgot that was going on. I got so much other things that going on. So
in fact, the same has just happened with me as I got the new release to check out, and I thought, my friends just played for them back in May, and so guilty as charged.
It's just tough, man. There's just so much going on, but I tell you what, like we'll keep trying and do our best to spread the word, and we're grateful for you and for other outlets that are having interest in the band, because if it weren't for you guys posting stuff and making it important and have it be seen, then a lot less people would know. So I appreciate that.
Oh, sure. You're welcome. So in terms of touring, which band do you want to tour with that you have not toured with yet?
Oh, man. I would love to be on tour with, because I think it'd be a great fit, would be Lamb of God would be awesome. That would be super killer, and they're like back in action, so it'd be an unstoppable thing to just be a part of. So if I could, wish on one thing, it would be to do that. That'd be unbelievable. Another band, there's so many. If we could bring Pantera back, that'd be awesome, but that'll never happen. So yeah, I don't know, man. The first band I think of is Lamb of God would be super awesome because they're back in action now. So
outside the band, well, this is kind of in the band, but it's a little bit outside. So y'all had a Winter Warriors tour where y'all supported, I think, was it the Wounded Warriors? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
How did that work out for y'all as well as the Wounded Warriors? What was that like?
It was pretty cool. I think it helped support a cause, and we'd like to shine a light on things that are, any good cause related to helping the vets, we're absolutely all about. There are a lot of other great causes out there, but that is the area we wanted to focus on, because we all agree on that. And, because when you have a band with 5 guys, it's kind of hard. Sometimes it gets hard to agree on things. Everybody has their different opinions. So, but that's the one thing that we're all like, hell yeah, let's support that. Like, if we're gonna support anything, let's support that. And for me personally, I look up to our servicemen and women tremendously. I think they're our modern day heroes. Like, if I could do what they do, I would. You know what I mean? And actually, I tried to get in the Marines, and they told me I couldn't because I had asthma and I don't have perfect vision. So they said no, and I was like, cool, what am I going to do now, kind of thing. So that was, I feel like they're our modern day heroes, and I look up to them. That's my personal opinion. Now, if you have somebody in the band that might say something different, but one thing that we can all agree on is we got to support our vets. They sacrifice everything, and the least we can do is shine a light on that and be a part of that whole thing. And then there's a lot of people who are involved, and we're just happy to be a small, tiny little link in that chain. So
yeah, I want to commend you on that. So thank you for, making that effort to connect the metal world with the vets. So that's huge.